Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and I am here with your new Friday freebie. This is part 2 of a special Friday freebie series that is going over the course of 8 weeks. We are building the Frostbound Forest Storycraft box, which gives you a new project and more of the story every week. If you're a member of my email list, you will get this automatically around noon Eastern today. And if you're not, you can get caught up on part 1 and get part 2 by going to the description down below and signing up through the link there. This is a very special series. It is only available for free until March 14th of 2025. After that, it will be available for sale in my Etsy shop. If you already did part 1, you know that the first week was pretty big. We built the box and the journal for this series. This week we have something a little smaller. There's only 8 pages and everything gets printed on cardstock. I'm using 110-pound cardstock. For supplies, I am using Beacon Fabri-Tac as my glue. I'm also using the iced spruce and vintage photo distress inks. Vintage photo goes on just about everything that is brown or wood color. And then the iced spruce I've been using around other pieces like these. You will also need scissors and a bone folder, and that's really it as far as supplies, unless you want to use something fancy like a scoreboard or a paper trimmer or something like that to help cut and score everything. Now we are building a shadow box today, and another little optional bit, and I provided a template for you, is to add a little piece of plastic to the inside cover and then add something inside like sequin or other little bits and bobs to put some more dimension and excitement into this project. This is totally optional. I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see what it looks like, but you can feel free to skip this step. So I have everything cut out for the most part already, but I wanted to go over a couple of the little fiddly bits. Now, if you're cutting out by hand, something like this might seem a little intimidating, but I'm going to recommend you just take your scissors and poke a hole in the middle and then kind of cut your way out to the edge very carefully and then work your way around that design. Let your non-scissor hand do the driving. Don't try to turn your scissors. It's hard to do that sometimes. I still kind of drive with my scissors, but kind of smoothly turn the paper and you can get some pretty good cuts on those. And if it's not perfect, like I have a little bit of white poking out there, I'll just either come back and trim that off or hit it with some of that distress ink and make it disappear. You also have some slides that need to have the little windows cut out, so you'll want to do the same thing on these. There are also some fussier cutouts that are included with this. I have provided mirror image of the cutouts so that you can make them double-sided. If you are worried about getting them to fit nice and neat, you can either leave them single-sided or cut out one identifying area. So cut around the point on both pieces, sandwich them back to back, or you can cut out a couple of areas, line those identifying areas up, and then continue to cut them out while they're still back to back. You might glue them or tape them together so they don't move around, and that way things will match up just a little better. So let's start with the shadow box pieces. I'm just going to slide everything off to the side here. And this shadow box has a lid, a base, and then a couple of extra pieces to put together. So let's start with the base. And the two of these are going to go together very similarly. So once we do one, the other one should be a breeze. The first thing I want to note is you want to make sure that these tabs are cut all the way to the corner. If those aren't cut all the way to the corner, then you're going to have a little trouble putting this together. So make sure you grab your scissors and give those a little snip all the way up to where everything meets. I have pre-creased mine along all of the lines. So right around this frame of the tree here, and then right in between all of these side panels, I've pre-creased along there, and also where the tabs meet the sides. So I'm going to grab my glue. And this is going to be very similar to our box bottom as well. So let's start with the short sides, and I'm just going to fold those up, give those a nice crease towards the middle, and then I'm going to fold this leafy piece over and crease that as well. And then I'm going to tip these up and make sure nothing is catching. Those seem good. And now I'm going to glue the leafy panel down. That is the technical term, the leafy panel. Put some glue in each of those. And give that a little press. So now let's do the long sides. Same thing, I'm going to press those in on either side. And then fold in the nature part. The best way to describe it, I think. Right like that. And then check that so that when these stand straight up, nothing is catching. Now this is going to be just like our box base. We're going to stand up our end panels, the short sides, pull those tabs in, stand them up, and then sandwich these long sides right over top of these tabs. So glue at the ends, all across the ends, and then glue all over. Either one of these panels is fine. Then I'm just going to give that a little pop over the top. And then make sure my corners are nice and sharp and that I've squished those tabs in there really well and everything is meeting up good. Now I did not distress ink much of this box yet. I did some of the raw edges, but I figured I'd hit the whole thing with a little ink whenever it's done. Now let's get that other side. Right along those short edges and then over the entire surface of one of those panels. And then flip the whole thing in and make sure those tabs are nice and secure. Check the corners. And everything looks pretty good. Now we have our little box base done. So you can see there is a top and a bottom. So we're going to turn that the correct direction. And let's grab this back panel. I'm just going to fit it in there, make sure it's going to fit okay. It looks pretty good. I'm going to pop that out. If you feel like yours isn't fitting well, you can trim it up just a little bit. And I'm just going to glue all over the inside, making sure I get those edges. Not too much glue. You don't want it to kind of seep out from under and go all over the place. And I'm going to place this panel right in here. Like so. So now we're going to repeat that for the lid. So grab those small sides, fold them in, fold over that center line, and glue them down. And then we're going to do the long sides, so carefully fold those in. This can be a little delicate because of how thin the frame is on those edges, so just be careful and go slow. Fold that halfway mark and then repeat that for the other long side. Making sure I got my fold all the way. Then get that halfway mark. And then we're going to repeat that process of putting the tabs inside of those long sides. So fold those little tabs in. Grab my glue. Here. And along this panel. And then I'm just going to stand these short sides up and pop that over the top. Squeeze those corners and check and make sure that they're nice and tight, and then repeat for the other side. Now while this piece is drying, let's move back to bottom of the box. And you can do a quick little fit here and make sure everything is going together. But your lid should fit right over top of your bottom box. It might be a little bit snug, but it should go right on there like so. And I'm going to grab my white fox piece, and all of these little tabs, these 3 tabs, need to be folded in, but at a 90-degree angle. So we want them to act as a spacer because we're going to glue this into our box to create our shadow box effect. And he should just stand about halfway. You can see there's some space behind him there. So you can test fit that, make sure he's sliding in okay, and then just put some glue on each of these tabs. And carefully, you might push them in a little extra. Try not to get glue all over, but it should be mostly hidden. And just insert that in, and then I'm going to grab my scissors or my bone folder or another device and just gently press those edges down so that he's going to be glued into place. At this point, you can just pop the lid on and call it done. But if you would like to take an extra step, I'm going to get some transparency film that I have on hand. Any kind of clear plastic left over from maybe junk mail or packaging or something like that you can use to do this. And I'm going to get my template here and just use this as a guide to cut out a panel to go inside of that lid. I'm just going to use a binder clip to hold it together really quick. And then I'll just cut right around my template. I'm going to check the fit, and that looks like it's fitting pretty well. So I'm going to use some glue to secure that in place. So I'll just put a little bit around the edges. It's not going to take that much. I can put a little extra at the top here, and then just a little around the edges. We don't want it to seep out around the frame. And I'm going to gently place this right inside. And I'm trying not to get it all fingerprinty, so I'm going to use my bone folder to smooth it into place. And just stick to those outside edges. So now I have a little piece of plastic in there. And for me, I've got these sequins on hand. I love sequin. So I'm going to put a little sprinkle of these in here, so that this whole thing becomes kind of a magical shaker. Our forest is a little magical. So I'm going to turn this into a magical shaker and then pop my lid on. Now you can glue the lid in place so it can't come off, especially if you've got something like glitter or sequin and you just don't want anybody to be able to open it later on. So you could put some glue in there and glue this entire thing shut. So now I've turned my simple shadow box into this fun shaker with these magical sequin inside. There we go. And this will help tell my story about this magical forest that we're in. Now that we've finished our shadow box slash shaker, I'm going to put that off to the side. It's time to move on to the journal and adding on to the story. So I'm going to flip to my next blank page. And we're going to work on this left-hand page here. So there are 3 pieces like this. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to make a waterfall out of these. So they each need to be folded in half. And then this little tab at the top needs to be folded back and forth a couple of times. That way it will move freely and you can flip it up and down a lot easier. I did put a little distress ink in this crease just in case that little strip there shows up once you flip it up, because it's going to go like this. So you might see a little peek of that underneath there. So that ink helps hide that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these back to back. This will make for nice sturdy flips that are going to hold up. Let me grab my bone folder and I'm just going to kind of coax that glue around in there. And I'll repeat that for the other two. So all three of these are done. And now I'm going to grab my little tiny tabs here. We've got flora, fauna, and notes. And this is the order they're going to go in. So flora, fauna, and notes. So flora is our plants, fauna is our animals, and notes are actually our journal entry, but it is also our notes. So I'm just going to put, and you want to make sure that the words are faced up because I position the wording so that when you flip it up, it's still right side up when you flip your flip up. So there is a correct way to put these tabs on. So flora is going to go to the left-hand side. So I'm just going to open this up and put a little bit of glue, smear that on there, just enough, not too much because this is a small piece. So it's really easy to over glue and have it kind of go everywhere. I'm going to put this all the way to the left-hand side. There we go, that's a little nicer. Fauna is going to go on the middle, and then notes is going to go all the way to the right-hand side. Like so. Now that we've got our tiny tabs on, I'm going to grab my journal. And these are going to cascade as a waterfall. They're going to layer underneath each other. So flora, fauna, and then notes, and they're all going to go onto the pages here. So let's start with flora. We're just going to glue this tab. So the glue is going to go right on here. And then I'm going to center it up fairly close to the top of the page. So there's just a little bit of room. Make sure this is straight. And then I'm going to grab fauna, a little bit of glue on the back of fauna's tab. And this is going to flip up and I'm going to position the second one right below the first. And then repeat that for the last one. So the glue is going on the unprinted side, not the printed side. This might look a little printed because I did a good job with my distress ink, but so I'm going to flip these both up and place notes. And then since I've used this liquid glue, if I need to adjust anything, I can, but I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So now I've got these little flips with writing on both sides. And I'm going to let those dry well before I really try to crease them or flip them too harshly. For our facing page, the right page, we're going to add a pocket, which continues the journaling. So we have this piece here. You're just going to fold those tabs in, both sides, then the bottom last. And I'm going to glue all of my tabs. Like so. And I'm going to place this pretty close to the bottom of the page. Let me kind of bound up there. It's got caught. There we go. All right, so center that on the page fairly close to the bottom. And then you've got this interesting little piece here. We're going to make kind of a mini flip up there. So I creased it on the line above Botanical Samples and then creased the line below the label. And we're going to turn this over and we're going to glue the panel that is below the label to the back of the label. Just going to get some glue in there and press that together. And then this leaves us, this leaves us with this little flap here. We're actually going to slide this right down into this pocket so it becomes a flip. Now I'm going to glue this in so that it won't come out later. So I'm just going to slide this up a bit. I'm going to put some glue kind of right in the middle. It shouldn't take too much. And now make sure you're inside of the pocket. It should be sized properly, and it'll be a little bit of a snug fit, but it should go right down in there. And then I'm just going to push and then press that down like so. If you're having trouble getting this in, too much trouble, just cut a little bit off of one edge, re-ink it if you have inked, and then try putting it in then and it should work. See here, I probably should have put a little distress ink there. Once my glue is dry, I'll hit that with my dauber and just kind of fill that in. And now we have a little tab that can go on here. So it's just a little kind of handle. It's double-sided. We're going to add it just like we added the tabs on the waterfall page. And this is going to go right in the center. It's double-sided. It's the same on both sides, this one, so don't worry too much about it. And this might pop up a little bit. That's okay. You confirm that crease up with your bone folder, and then once this sits closed for a while, it will probably behave itself. If it doesn't, you can grab our friend the Velcro dot and put the clear spot over the text, which shouldn't disturb it too much, and Velcro that down. But I wanted to have a little interactive flippy piece here. Next, we're going to fill the pocket up with the samples that are labeled on it. So we've got our fern, flower, and mushroom. Now, if you stuck with single-sided, you can just go ahead and stick all these right down into the pocket. If you went double-sided, then you'll want to glue these together. So I'm going to add a little glue to mine, that they're back to back, and this will be kind of finished on both sides. Now, I didn't put any distress ink on these. I'm going to leave them as is, but you could definitely put a little ink around them if you want to pop those edges or cover up some unevenness. So now we've just got a pocket full of goodies there. That way we can see our journal entry, little flip up, and the waterfalls on this side. Now we get a bonus page this week. I'm going to flip over. I'm going to go ahead and grab my binder clip and hold this in place while we work on it. I'm going to grab, there's 3 more pockets. We got the insect records pocket and 2 others, and these are all going to layer up on this page. So we've got that same format of 3 tabs on all of them. So I'm going to fold those down. Nice and tight. Give them some glue. And then this first largest pocket is going to go centered up and then almost to the bottom of the page. Then we're going to go to the medium pocket. I'm going to line this right up at the bottom of the first pocket. Should fit right on top of it. And then the little pocket with insect records is going to go on top in the same way last. All right. Now we've got some slides to go into these pockets, and they are organized kind of in rows on the sheets. Those pieces go together. If you get confused, you can look at the text and figure out what goes together. So we've got the moth, and it says silver-winged moth, the grass leaf hopper, translucent wings, and then the ember beetle, and it says a beetle. So if you get your pieces kind of mixed around, it's not a big deal. You can put them back together. And these should sandwich up. You've got 3 for each slide, makes them nice and thick. We're going to take the label description and turn that over. I'm going to put glue on it and place my moth picture. And I have put Vintage Photo Distress ink on all of these edges, on all 3 pieces. And now we've got a frame. I also did the inside of this frame with the Vintage Photo Distress ink. I'm going to try to get pretty close to the edge and then place that right on top. And that's going to make a really nice thick slide that you can pick up and handle. And I'm going to repeat that for the other two. Once you get all your slides finished, you can place them into whatever pockets you desire. You should just slide right in there. Get this little clip off. And that's it for part 2 of the Frostbound Forest. So I hope you're really enjoying this project. I am definitely looking for feedback on this format, so please comment below and let me know what you think so far. This product is kind of a passion of mine, and I've been injecting it into my junk journal kits, and I thought a kind of crafting project story adventure might be something that you guys might like, because you guys seem to really like the storytelling journal kits and you seem to really like the projects that I send out. So I thought I would combine them both and create something a little different. So please like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think so far, and I will see you next week in part 3.